Mike Kelly said when he was asked about Kyren Lacy, we don't want to speak on these things because these things take time. That case didn't take any time. Just like Quinshon Junkins' case didn't need to be further looked into by the NFL because the DA said this is fraud. They say they talk to these kids about sextortion, but there's a source of targeting that these players' parents and families and guardians better start talking to them about. And it ain't the women. It ain't the scammers. It's their future employer. That's what they need to be talking about. Because Shedeur Sanders was taken off the board by the NFL after a character assassination, after the NFL gave out his phone number. Understand that. That had nothing to do with external sources. That's internal. The media just played a hand in it by telling us about it every day. But the work was an inside job. Kyren Lacy was taken off or disinvited from the combine by the NFL, even though a full 30 days before the invites went out, he was innocent. And what did they say? These things take time. Don't worry. Just make it one more day to your grand jury. You'll be found innocent because they already had the proof that he was innocent, but they wanted to let it play out because these things take time. And guess what would have happened? The same thing that happened to Quinshon Junkins. He would have had to go to tooth and nail to be drafted in the first round and not be devalued like Isaiah Bond. And understand that Shedeur, Isaiah Bond, Quinshon Junkins all ended up in Cleveland. And Cleveland didn't draft no wide receivers. Were they going to get Kyren Lacy? Nobody expected him to pass. They were trying to devalue him, though. Let's let it play out. These things take time. But just like Quinshon Junkins, it didn't take no time. The DA said ain't nothing here. The DA said in January, right after the 2 years, nah, that's not right. They already had the body cam footage and everything else, but they sat on it. I wonder who wanted to take advantage of this young man having to stare 50 years in a penitentiary in Louisiana for something he didn't do, only to get to a grand jury that they insist he would have been found innocent of. I still don't know how you know that. One, grand juries are a secret process, and they indict when you sneeze. So how is it that he was going to walk away from a grand jury indictment? How are you so confident? Because they already had the damn evidence, but they sat on it for their own benefit. And the reason why this situation was so confusing was because it was so many different entities involved. And there's one out here that ain't said shit. And that's the one that these parents need to start talking to their kids about. Nyck Harbor might want to put on a body cam from now until he gets a mini training camp. And I asked, after we talked about Kyren Lacy and Isaiah Bond and Shedeur Sanders and Quinshon Junkins, and just in case I didn't say Kyren Lacy, I said it. Who they going to get this year? Who was the cop pointing at? 3 people in the tunnel where you think maybe cameras can't see you. You intentionally, what you wanted to do? Start an altercation with him? Thank God he was in the middle of a game and with 2 more of his colleagues. Because they could have probably used that to make sure he wasn't a first-round draft pick like Isaiah Bond or Kyren Lacy. Understand, they know exactly where all of these top players, they coming out. They might not know exactly what team they're going to, but they know they're coming out. And that is why Shedeur Sanders, Kyren Lacy, now Nyck Harbor, Isaiah Bond, and Quinshon Junkins were all targeted, and it is not a coincidence that Quinshon, Isaiah, and Shedeur ended up in Cleveland. Let's see what Nyck Harbor ended up at, because we know Cleveland need some wide receivers. Let's see if they try to use this to say, well, he was going to go first, but, people just think maybe he should go to the 5th or the 6th, and maybe you're going to understand what the hell the goal was today. There's a source out here that people are not looking at when it comes to these players being targeted. Trumped up charges. People that they thought they could trust suddenly turning on them. It's not a coincidence that in Kyren Lacy's situation and today with Nyck Harbor, it's law enforcement. who the NFL relies on for information about these athletes. Remember, they do an extensive background check. And I'm just shocked as hell that the DA who went to LSU didn't say nothing to Brian Kelly about his star athlete. And that the NFL didn't reach out to nobody. Hell, including the Mannings, who from Louisiana, to find out about the star athlete top draft prospect that they had on camera at the draft in 2024, talking to Jada Daniels and his other LSU teammates. He was a part of that draft process. They knew he was coming. Why they didn't go to bat for him? All they did was take him and disinvite him from the draft. You know that had to hurt. And no, they didn't know his life was going to come to an end. But what were they planning to do? Yeah, we know who you are, but look what happened. So we can't draft you first. Why would they disinvite that young man? It's the same baffling question that you have on why they would take Shedeur off the board. Not a coincidence, they all first-round draft picks. And now people want to run around and say Shedeur was a late first-round pick. No, the hell he wasn't. People expected him to go to the Giants, which is ludicrous in my opinion. And the Browns are on the record when he was going to be day draft pick. So he was somewhere between 2 and 3. Just because he interviewed with Mike Tomlin late don't mean he failed to number 21. If they knew Jackson Dart was sneaking into the first round, they had already decided to lock Shedeur out of it. That's how good Shedeur is. They had to lock a lie and say they locked him out of the first round. After the draft, it's documented. Teams say we didn't lock him out. Everybody didn't know about the plot. Because you can't tell 5,000 people what you get ready to do. But there were a lot of people that knew. Like Eric Dickerson said, somebody on the inside told him, he's not lying. Look at Kyren Lacy. Look at Isaiah Bond. Look at Quinshon Junkins. Look at Shedeur Sanders. And now look at Nyck Harbor, as he is also headed to the NFL draft. Just in case people need a reminder, let's just take a listen to this.
It's like his father has been negatively affected with emotional distress, right? After what? Being publicly humiliated in front of 7.3 million people. And let me tell you what Colin Cowherd is doing. He knows that. He knows what happened to Shedeur was what? Coming off the heels of what? The NFL draft. Being devalued, colluded against. They took him off the board and didn't even tell him. They had his phone number. Why they didn't call him and tell him? Because they sent his phone number out to 2,000 people who did not need to know. Where's the accountability for that data breach? Where's the accountability for the collusion against Shedeur? For the owner saying, take that entitled so-and-so off the board, which was language lifted the tongue of the New York Giants head coach, which was a lie. And after Ms. Pilar called out the New York Giants, they backed off of their lie about he was prepared. This young man's nickname is Gronk, right? So Colin Cowherd is deflecting from the damages caused by emotional distress, cruelty, collusion, public humiliation. He's deflecting because he's saying Shedeur Sanders shouldn't be QB1 because he got a speeding ticket.
Fans are asking, is connected Dart and the New York Giants? As you know, the New York Giants are the only franchise to issue defamatory and negative statements against Shedeur Sanders. So, did the New York Giants intentionally defame Shedeur Sanders to justify drafting a lesser talented QB and Jackson Dart, who went to Ole Miss? Questions that need answers.
Hey, is this Shedeur? Hey, this is Mickey Loomis here, the GM of the New Orleans Saints.
Now,